So tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how possible is it for young adults to own a home before the age of 36? You know, you own your home before the age of 36.
Correct.
You own your home at age 29, and for you it was 30.
What?
31.
Yeah.
Now, some may say that, you know, you guys are different and something was only just special. But I want your honest answer. How possible it is for young people to own a home before the age of 36 on a scale of 1 to 10?
10 be my highest.
10 be like 1 be the Okay, all right, you.
I would say around 8.
And you know you have to explain, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna start with Sashana. Tell me now, I want to know what are the necessary steps we need to take to make that possible. You said 10. Take us through some of the necessary steps our young people would need to take in order to make that possible.
Just have a plan, budget, and then see.
Okay. Now, you said 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I want you to explain that. She give her 10 out of 10 response now. I need to hear the 8 out of 10.
Right. So, the reason why I said 8, I think back when I was trying to get a house, probably certain things weren't in place, I think, as it is now with what NHTs operates. I think it was a bit more challenging. I think no, it's definitely a 10. So when I owned my home, one of the things that I had to have was because initially I applied with my wife. Never kind of worked out, but then I went on and applied with my mother, but her mother, you know, she didn't use her rights. And, you know, that kind of helped me, you know, get through it, like, you know, owning the first one.
So let's be honest, at any point at all, do you guys feel like, okay, this is not possible, let me give it up? Did you have any of those thoughts at all?
Yes.
But how did you overcome those thoughts?
And I guess I'll start with mine first. Because, you know, at the time I was applying, I actually applied when I was 26. So I applied when I was 26. And first I applied to a booking for the housing scheme in Spain. So I applied, obviously I knew I didn't get to go. And then a couple months after, another housing scheme was being, you know, put into the market. And I'm like, I know I didn't get through the first time. I don't know why. I was trying to apply again doing that. In a couple of months time, how much points will I really have? Like, seriously, it's not possible. But knowing me, I'm an optimist, and I decided that I'm going to just try it out. So I went on and I looked at it and I saw something called United States, but I'm like, okay, I think it's the first level I was applying. I don't recall. I Google's my best friend. I went on Google and I Googled what is parent assist. I realized that it's something like where you can use your parents' points. So same thing, I called my mom, asked her, did you ever get through with that house that you're trying to get? Because she was always applying for NHD houses. I'm like, did you ever get any benefit from NHD or anything? He said, no. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. So I did complete the application, sent everything in, and then, you know, in a couple months' time, when the results are out, I saw my name right up there. And I was 26. So you're probably wondering, 26 to 29, why is there such a big gap?
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, though, it was in the heights of COVID because it was 2021. So the developers for the housing scheme, you know, they had to pause. And then during all that time, the contract had to change with NHD. So NHD had to be security just get rid of that contract. So during that time, I was about 3 years. I was waiting, and that was a huge disappointment for me because, you know, once I saw my name in that paper, I was so happy. Immediately, the same thing. I went on Amazon, add to cart, in the whole, just add to cart. So. You know, I'm a patient person. I think I am a patient person. So I was just waiting patiently to just get that call from NHD to say, come, your keys ready. Just come down. It's your time now. So 1 year passed, nothing. 2 years passed. But the third year, 29, I finally got that call from NHD, and actually it was one of the happiest days of my life when I got that call. But just kind of just trying to place it out there that even though I got through when I was 26, I still had to wait a good amount of time. I had communication, it had to go through some disappointments, but I still stuck it out. And here I am today.
Yeah. And so, but I'm expecting that your story is probably going to be very similar. Because I realize the parent goodness.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's different. So whereas Sasha here was really thinking about owning a home, that wasn't on my mind at all. So when I left university, I was just going through the motions, get a job, then, you get a nice car, be able to take care of your family because I was living with back then wasn't my wife, but we were living together. Um, to be honest, I really wasn't thinking about owning a home. I think it was like a far-fetched thing, like you have to have this good heap of money. What really inspired me is when I switched jobs and my boss that is at my new job, she tries to grow the team not just professionally but personally. So she kind of motivate, all of us to try to own our homes. And my wife, she wasn't really the one that was like, yo, this the new bought this apartment to get a house. But I wasn't really thinking about that. But yeah, my boss has played a big role in me starting to actively, as well as friends, I have a really close friend. She also pushed me and my wife. So I said, I'm going to take this seriously. So I started, looking for houses, looking on NHP. My wife was already ahead of the game. So when I started to get serious, she was like, here's a bunch of homes that we can So I started to apply. First time, both of us applied. We didn't work out. Then here it says, I called up my mom, asked her to use her points. She said no. And then, we applied and looked at it. I was happy when I saw my name. Well, I didn't even see my name. Someone called me and told me that my name was in the paper. I didn't even know it ain't. To tell everyone I wasn't thinking about houses. I didn't even know them looked in the newspaper. Someone called me and told me, and I was like, wow.
Thank you so much for that. So I'm gonna come over here for a little bit. He mentioned something earlier. You said that you were thinking of getting a car before. And I realize it's a part of our culture, and I'm gonna extend this question to you. Young people nowadays, I feel like we're more so focused on getting a car before we get a home. As a realtor, what are your thoughts on that?
I've always viewed cars as a tool. So if it is that you need it to get around, get to work, it is a time saver. Far too often we use it as a crutch and we use it as a status symbol, which it should not be, at least not when you're starting out. So for me, it is, if it is that the automobile is going to help you to get to where you need to get to in terms of your destination, by all means, go and get your car.
So you're saying it's okay?
It's okay. Yeah. It's just that I say I was at my life or in my life. Like them, I started young in terms of trying to get a home. Because of NHT, I was able to do that myself and my wife at 26. So it can be done. And there are examples of it being done. So we can't say it's not possible. But we did get cars before. Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't get car loans.
You purchased the car cash.
Just buy what money can buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So, Mr. Nicholas, one of the most recent policies that you have is the special young adult policy. And I'm going to read it out. It says, under the special young adult policy, the NHT will reserve a minimum of 10% of the housing solutions in the NHT's current housing plan for contributors under 36 years old. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I get from that is that you're pretty much saying that 10% of the housing solutions that are available on the NHT is set aside for young people under the age of 36 years old.
You're quite correct, Danger. Just probably one minor correction, at least 10%.
At least. Okay.
10%.
That is on the
So previously, our previous policy, if I could start there, stated what you actually affirmed, that 10% would be set aside for young adults. I think at the time when we started was 40 and below. But over time, we've seen that change in the demographic of the NHT contributor or contributors, on average, are younger. And the contributor base, we have more young people entering the contributor base. And they have that kind of concern that you hear Savon and Sachel with, well, Sachel more than Savon, look close. But, wanting to aspire to home ownership, and it's ensuring that the NHT's housing scheme product is being distributed widely. So we do have reservations starting July last year for young adults, as you indicated, 36 and over, at least 10%. And I must say, we've been seeing that manifesting. It's not a scam. We actually, when we have our handing over ceremonies, you actually see the young people come up and collect their keys. I'll point out too that we also have reservations for other groups. Do make reservations for public sector workers as well. We do make reservations for persons with disabilities as well. So it's just one of those means through which the NHD ensures that as many and as diverse of our contributors as possible get that opportunity to the NHD housing scheme. But that's not the only pathway to home ownership, and a little later we can talk about somebody else.
Thank you so much, Alan. We mentioned earlier, you said something about budgeting when you are explaining. Tell us to us or explain to our young people why is budgeting very important when it comes to home ownership, and what was that like for you?
All right. So budgeting is very important, as I said before, because you can't purchase a home without having money. So NHT, like if you're buying an NHT housing scheme, it's a little bit different where maybe you don't have to pay a lot of down payment and the closing cost is $3,600, I believe, unless that has changed. But in the case that you're not buying a home from NHT and you're going on the open market, you do know that you're going to need a down payment. So some of the budgeting techniques that I use, for example, I'm not going to bash anyone that does formulas, but I always go against doing a formula. It's not effective. It will work, but to me, a partner is alone. You're not gaining any returns on it. So if you really want to budget and you really want to save towards a home, then whatever money that you're making on the extra money you can, whatever income, if you can, try to save maybe 10%, 20%. You get a bonus at December time. Don't spend it off. You know you never need new shoes. Don't buy it. Put it towards your house. And putting it in a savings bank is not really saving. Yeah, I know that sounds strange because it's called a savings account, but it really isn't, because you're not getting a high interest return on it. The best thing to do, in my opinion, is invest that money, not in stocks. Stocks are too risky. If you want, you can buy a repurchase agreement. You can buy bonds. That way you can actually see some return on your money. And then once you actually find a house that you want, you can cash in that investment and put it towards your house as down payment. So that's my little advice for you guys. So there's
And what about you, Sabah? I mean, you said that when you were going through the entire process, you had your wife here with you. Did that make it any easier for you?
Yeah, it did. So usually I am full on with work. So sometimes I don't give much attention to any other thing. So she tends to handle all of the research and so I don't want to say almost like I'm a manager, but she'll bring it to me and say, oh, and just review it. I agree with a lot of what Sasha said as well, with even the partner. I do think in today's society, you can use a setup like even automation on any of your bank accounts. You just deduct that money and save it. So I don't see why you would even need a partner. And saving was a big thing for us as well. And investing a lot of our money so we could get started. But big up to my wife. She did not attack the heavy duty wine.
Wife is taking it right now, right?
I'm not sure.
You should just say yes, I'll work.
Yeah, she's home with the 3-year-old. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to head back to you. All right, I want you to take us through some of the loan benefits available to contributors under 36 to help them own house.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about the screen product because those are the options, and just to elaborate on that more, parent assist, where parents who are homeowners or perhaps never use their NHD benefit in their home ownership journey or any at all can pass on that benefit to the child in one of two ways. So where the NHD schemes are concerned, they can pass on what we call the bonds, which is their years of contribution. And the NHD has a mechanism as to how much each year is worth in terms of points. And that goes on to the child, and the child, therefore, stands a better chance of being selected for an NHD scheme. A parent can also pass on their NHD loan entitlement. So the NHD's loan limit is now $7.5 million. They can also pass on that to the child who is looking something on the open market probably, or want to maybe even buy land and then do construction. So there's that option where parents can assist children as well. And that's a good option because the loans are calculated with the children's age which means they are younger, you have a longer time period to repay, so that translates into smaller and more manageable monthly payments. But outside of the NHD scheme product, and I know a lot of people love it, and a lot of people assess how effective the NHD is by whether I get a scheme house or not, but there are many other pathways to home ownership. There is an open market where you get your $7.5 million. You hit up Nick and he said, Nick, I'm getting my 7.5 from NHD. I've checked with my bank. I have this amount as well. I have this in savings. This is where my affordability is. Help me find something within that price range. We also have, as I said, build on own land. Sometimes we have family land that's been passing down generation to generation, and everybody sit down and look on the land and the land and look on them. Convert that into home ownership as well. I know that's probably more popular in maybe like rural Jamaica, or let me not be rude, but outside of Kingston. Let me put it that way. Outside of Kingston. No, some people might take offense to me calling it rural Jamaica. And as a man, never man me take it offensive. But yeah, I know it's probably a more popular option there because there's more available land space. And I know so that is also an option. You can buy, and you can break down the NHD loan limit, the loan amount in those two parts. So you can have a part for buying the land, and you have the remainder that you can put towards construction. You can also partner with somebody. We have a product called Build 9 Team Builder, which, as its name suggests, is everyone pooling their NHD benefit. You identify a piece of land, you buy that land, subdivide it, Nick get in piece, me get piece, Danger get piece.
I want to see his piece.
Yeah, man, and you go off and you do your individual construction, because that it's just allowing you to better pool NHD resources, and you get a better spend in terms of what you can do with it. So, as I said, I know a lot of people love this scheme because you don't need no down payment, you don't, many other things that you don't need no valuation report, you don't need a surveyor's ID report, all of that, because NHE takes care of it. And I wish I could have come on this live and say, for everybody who contributes to the NHE, you can get a house. Or one-on-one, one for everybody who contributes. But the reality is that's something the NHD continues to work on in terms of ensuring that's greater supply. So currently our housing program targets 43,000 new housing starts, and that's 43,000 opportunities for Jamaicans. And as we find more land, as we get into more partnerships and more arrangements, we will always seek to increase that number. But if you remember nothing else I say this evening, there are many pathways to home ownership. Do your research.
I'm about to ask you to take me back because you said a lot.
Yes.
Just kind of list them out. I think you started with the parents,
Yes.
and then you went into what was it again?
Open market.
Open markets. Okay, parent affiliation, open markets,
Build on own land.
build on own land.
Island and
Land you put a country by land and build.
yes.
Then you have the subdivision.
Subdivision.
Build 9, where you pool your resources with other
Yes,
people, buy
right.
the land and do construction. May I leave out none? Enough for them, There are more, but my point, Danger, is that mortgages are personal. And oftentimes they look at, Sachel's story and Nick's story and go, oh, well, that's what Nick do, and we either try to imitate what Nick did, not knowing that even with the same set of profile, we're the same age and we look like we earn the same amount, the circumstances will differ. So it always starts with research. Have a conversation with either your NHD representative, your realtor, your banker, and say, hey, what's available to me, how we can do this? Because everybody's pathway is going to be a little bit different. So you have to find what works for you in your set of circumstances. And as Sachel says, stick to that plan and work that plan. Yeah, it's going to be 1 year for somebody, going to be 2 years for somebody. It was 5 years for me. Yeah, 5 years for me, but stick to that plan and work that plan. No, just have your plan, stick to your plan, work that plan.
since we want our young people to apply, where can they go now to find information on this list of pages?
The NHT's social media pages that they are on is a
Okay.
wealth of information.
Website as well.
NHT's website is a wealth of information. We have a branch office in every parish.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in and sit down and have a conversation with someone and say, hey, tell me how this thing works. Too often we kick the stone and show the stone and really check what under the stone.
Yeah.
And say, okay, let me investigate what's there first before, pour cold water on this.
Yeah. But based on what I'm getting from you, it's a lot of planning and researching as well.
Yes.
Before you head into the whole thing.
And Nick will tell you, I don't know nobody who get up and say, me feel for your house. And just go. And your wife and your wife do all of the work for you already. But even then, somebody did the work. I don't know nobody who get me feel for your house today. And say, you know what, I'm going to buy one today. And I say this all the time in all my forum that it's not groceries. You don't push a trolley down the aisle and say, I like that one.
Yeah.
And you take it off and you put it down and it's an involved process and you have to be prepared. And everybody has their home ownership story. Everybody has, what plan they put in place. So I won't tell you it's easy.
Yeah.
There is help available, and if you use that help, of course, it can be easy, but it is doable. You just have to find out which one of these pathways work for you, devise a plan, and again, stick to that plan. Works.
You said that there is help available. Nick, you're a realtor.
Yeah.
I think you're the help available. The thing is though, I feel like for young people, I'm not sure if a lot of them know or understand how important it is to consult with a realtor before getting into home ownership. Take us through why it is important to speak with a realtor before getting into home ownership.
Well, what I'd start off with by saying is preparation is the separation. At the end of the day, feel like no one right on those.
That's the quote for today's discussion. Preparation is a separation.
It is a separation. At the end of the day, in Jamaica, every single year we have 30,000 persons turning 30. So how are you going to stand out for the 40,000 housing solution?
Yes.
Right? If I look at the open market now, so going outside of the NHT realm, if you go on a realtor's website now, you will see 4,000 properties for sale. I've never gone on it and seen less than 3,500 available for sale ever in my 10 years. And when I look at properties below 25 million, it's about, I'd say 300. So right, as in houses, not land, just houses. So right there and then it says to me, only the persons who are most prepared is gonna get those opportunities, right? Shaban and Sachel, they prepared themselves. They got information, they got informed. So one of the first things somebody comes to me and say, look, I want to buy. I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are you? Are you just looking? Or have you been pre-approved? Do you have your deposit? Do you have your closing costs? That is 10, where are you? A lot of times I get, I qualify for 7.5. And that is the extent, which is a good step. That's a very good step. Right? But if you're going on the open market now, where is the savings coming from? In addition to your deposit, where's the legal fees? Where is the things that NHE takes care of for you?
Yes.
Yeah. So on the open market, you have to bear all of that. And what you need is a realtor to guide you through that process. Yeah. One who is able to connect the dots for you to say, okay, you need to talk to this person now, you need to get pre-approved now. Where are you in terms of your deposit? You need that 5%. You also need your legal fee. You also need your closing costs. You also need, your surveyor's ID report to be done. You also need the evaluation report to be done. Who can guide you and say this is a percentage that they normally charge, and that gets you ready and gets you in the game. So that's why we are planning. I want to add something based on what Nick said. Nick lists some fees, and I know some people probably go, see there. We need deposit, we need large fee, we need this. But one of the beauty about it, one of the beautiful things about the NHT is that the NHT assists with that. So every year, January 1, we apply for a contribution refunds because why not? The money is available. money you take from me and money I give me back with interest, and don't take my money. Sure. But the NHT has this program called Contribution Refunds Towards Deposit, called CRTD for short. And what that really means is that those NHT contributions that are not yet due for refund, if you're buying a house today, the NHT makes them available to you ahead of time to offset some of those costs. So it helps with the deposit for some people. Some people use it as legal fees. If you're doing construction, you can use it to cover property taxes and cover some of those fees associated. So you see where the research comes in? You might think, okay, I don't have no money, it's just a 7.5. You have a 7.5 plus all those amounts that you have in contributions that, so I always tell people when you're doing your affordability check, add up them money there too, are yours, and the NHC, of course, will make it available to you ahead of time to assist with your home ownership journey.
Thank you. I hope when we're talking to young people, they're get cool but feeling inspired because I'm feeling inspired. I did not know that. What you just told me, I'm just learning that. So thank you for that. You mentioned something earlier about going on Amazon the second and final I want to know, or you can start by just listing some of the resources that our young people would need in the home buying process. So some resources that they would definitely need.
All right, so some resources that you need, I always say, if you have Google, use it. It's right at your fingertips as long as you have internet.
So that's again what I remember.
Google.
Yes. Yes.
Google. It's right at your fingertips as long as you have internet. Anything you want, you can find out on Google. That's how I found out about the parent message. So that's one resource that you need. And you will also need, you mentioned that you can go to the NHC and speak to anyone like a loans officer and one. That's also a resource that you can use. And money is a resource. I'm always going to go back to money. It's a resource that you need. So that's even the biggest resource that you need along with the research. So definitely just remember that you need to save. That's it.
Yeah. What about you?
So I think what a quote that my boss always said to me is,
What's it now?
yeah, instant gratification. Sometimes they need to delay your gratification. I know we live in an age where, as young people, we just want to meet any want that we want right away. So want a car, just get it. If you want a new shoes, clothes, you just try to get it. Sometimes you need to just delay that gratification and save, as Sasha said, for something that will give you gratification that is more long term. So I think that's important, and I really kind of held that near to my heart. So anything that I know that I probably want, what I really don't need, I try to just hold on. And that's what I did while trying to save for this house. Just hold on, just build, just
No overspending.
no overspending.
So other than holding off and billing, are there any more advices that you would have to share to our young people who are looking into getting into home ownership?
Right. As Sasha said again, do your research.
Like, oh yeah, it's too much, you need to leave the space.
Yeah, ensure you do your research. The internet is there. Get that information. And you can even reach out to AHD because I did that and it was very receptive, the customer service that I got when I actually reached out to them. And yeah, so the information is there. It's just to go out there and get it. Yeah, I think.
If I could add to Petra, I think, and Nick will appreciate me for saying this, your greatest resource you need though in the process is that affordability letter that tells you exactly where you are. And it's a useful tool for your realtor that when you go to them or you're doing the shopping yourself, that you know realistically what's in front of you in terms of affordability. And so many times I hear people say, that's not that you can't do that. No, it's not possible for me. But they've never really sat down and done an affordability check. And then most times, My colleague was asking me earlier how long I've worked at NHT, and I put it this way: long enough to see many of these people who think it's not possible turn around and go, "Oh my God!" I said, "It didn't go." Yeah. So start with that affordability letter. We know the NHT is going to give you at least $7.5 million to start this journey. But look at your other sources as well. You check with your credit union, wherever you bank. Have them do an affordability check for you too, based off my income, based off the savings that I have. How much house can I really afford?
Yeah.
And when you have that affordability letter, to me, that's powerful. It gives you the confidence, thank you, Nick, that it is possible. Because many times they think, no, sir, they can't afford the 15, the 18, or even the $20 million property. But when somebody sit down and say, hey, say the salary deduction, you have $10,000 what you've been doing for the last how many years? It's worth this today, and NHT is giving you this amount. And where your bank will also lend you this amount.
Yeah.
The NHT has this beautiful relationship now with most mortgage providers where you can access your NHT benefits through them. So wherever you bank, wherever you save, go in, tell them, hey, I'm ready for my home ownership journey. Tell me how much I can afford. They'll look at your NHT entitlement and add that to whatever they will also provide you. And when it comes to loan application, it's the same. You can apply for your NHT loan through any of those institutions. You don't have to come into NHT and then find out all you need to find out about the NHT part and then go over to the bank or credit union and find out everything about their part. People don't have time to do the up and down. So if you go to one of those institutions, say, hey, I'm interested in home ownership, do my affordability for me. Put in the NHT amount, tell me where I'm at. And similarly, when it comes to loans, buying the house actually and getting the loan, you just go through one of those institutions. You don't have to come to NHT and go to that institution as well. So we're also simplifying it from a process standpoint to ensure that, it's not too much hassle and not too much up and down for the prospective homeowner.
And as you said earlier, young people like things quick and fast. Yes, that's what you were saying.
Yes.
So I feel like that's a good strategy for you. You just go out, you sort out everything, just tell me where I stand.
Even the eligibility letter, one time you had to go into NHT with the last 3 pay slips, copy your ID, copy your NNS, all of that. You can do that online now. Online.nht.gov.jm. You go in, once the information is correct, you generate that eligibility letter immediately, within seconds. And you can, from there, you can send it to your realtor, you can send it to your bank and say, hey, this is my NHT qualification. Add the other part and tell you where I'm really at.
All right, I don't mean to pressure you. I'll go ask you one more question.
No, pressure
Before I ask that question.
Pressure me.
Before I ask that question for everyone. You said earlier while you were talking salary deduction. But we want to keep this conversation very inclusive. So what about our young people who they don't necessarily have a 9 to 5 or they have an untraditional job, which means that they don't have that monthly salary deduction coming from their fee. How can they get into home ownership?
You can also, as a self-employed person, contribute to the NHT as well. Again, that's an online process we've simplified. You can register, pay your contributions on a quarterly basis to the NHT, and within a year you're qualified for your NHT amount. So once it's honest work, let me put it this way.
Wow.
Once it is honest work and you can really account for it, and it is above the board, above the table.
Yes.
Good honest work.
Not under the table.
No, you're going problems. But once it's above board, then you can always declare that income, contribute to the NHT, you pay 3% quarterly, and within 1 year. So it doesn't matter the status, if you're PAYE, as they call it, meaning that you have an employer who will do the deductions for you on a monthly basis and send it over to NHT. You can also do it as a self-employed individual. And again, the NHT has resource personnel, compliance officers in every branch office who will, show you the ropes as to how to get properly registered and how to make those contributions as well.
Okay, so we might ask you Anna because I'm dropping the nuggets. But so we did a thing on Instagram. We asked our Instagram followers what their greatest housing challenge was, and we got over 500 responses. They generally responded with concerns on the following categories: affordability, availability, financing, and getting rejected. Now, before we close out, I want to zone in on each of those for challenges. Let's start with getting rejected. Oh, no, because you mentioned
I
it
did get
earlier.
rejected.
You mentioned it earlier. I want to know what was that entire process like for you. And you said that after getting rejected, you decided that, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this again 3 years after. You said 27, 29.
It wasn't even 3 years after that. It's a couple months after.
Where you get the little audacity there from? And say, I literally just got rejected.
Right.
Take us through that a bit.
I know I want a house, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop until I get a house.
Come
So for all the persons out there, I don't think I could have get rejected in 20, 30. I am not going to stop until I get a house. Because I know I want one. And I did want one before I'm 30. Because I'm looking at my mom, I'm looking at she didn't get a house, like buying a house. She had to build on her own land, like a family land.
Yeah.
And we all know how it can be with family land sometimes. When too much family at one place is just a disaster. So I know I did not want to build on a family land. I want my own space. A land with my name on it, right? So I wasn't gonna give up. I knew I got rejected. Maybe it wasn't even 4 months or 5 months after being rejected. I'm going to try again. It's not gonna cost me to reapply. It's free. So I'm not gonna stop until I get it. So it just boils back down to research. If one thing isn't working for you, find another way. So I know that the way I applied at first wasn't working for me. I saw something new in the application. I tried that and it did work for me. If it didn't work, I could try the open market. That was my next best guess. I would try the open market. So don't matter how much I get rejected. I've been reading the comments as well. Persons are saying, oh, it's only the old people that might get the host name. How much time I tried.
I don't feel
disappointed. Just don't watch that, right? Don't give up. If it's not working one way, try another way. Just don't stop.
Yes.
That's my little 2 cents for rejection.
Because I asked you the same thing.
No, because my experience was complete. Because when I got rejected, my wife was at Seychelles. I was like, Cameron, this one of young people. I was like of the opinion of most young persons. I was like, Cameron, non trap like this again. She was
rejected.
Yeah, after I got rejected. I think what I did was I tried
Delayed, not rejected. Word.
Delayed.
Okay.
Yes. So I tried on the open market, but the scheme that I tried for Phoenix Park. But my wife was, I don't know, she for some reason she just didn't want to move to Portmore. So I was like, she pushed me to try Edisha, and I'm like, Shan, if we apply again, we're not gonna get through. We're not doing contributions, like So it's a waste of time. So is at that point I said, let me try calling my mother to see if she actually lives in Vines. And and I didn't call her no. Wife had to say, yo, you can't wait.
It's fucking wife. It's not a business.
More sister, get a wife like so.
Yeah, so eventually I found her and it was late in the night. I went on the website, I got all the information from my mom and I just spilled the tea online. I just say, all right, I did it. So just done with the best. Done.
One is something about question. No, because you said you did it with your wife. Is it easier when you have a partner to get a home? Is it easier for young people? Because it's now not only one person, but 2 persons working towards this goal.
One of the points, and
You can.
all right, if you want to take it, Nick, sure.
So it's funny because we were talking about it upstairs. I'd say most of my clients are couples.
See the nominee for final.
Very easy. Surprisingly, the next group behind couples is single women. So couples, single women.
Okay.
And then us men.
Okay.
follow
So that's the
So-
order.
in terms of client base. But
Okay.
it doubles your chances, increase the amount you can borrow, and volume cures are in. So the more money you have, the bigger the pool that you can search for,
Mhm.
right? You can now start looking in other areas depending on the affordability. So if it is that you can't do it on your own because when you check, get your money up, quickest way to get your money up is partner with somebody.
It's actually, no, it's true. It's true. So what is it indelicately? But that's literally what it is. And you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I was really going to share that point that Nick made, that just from the sheer standpoint that it's more income. So two people is just more. In my friend circle, actually, it's the opposite. It's a bag of single people who are homeowners. There is a bag of single people who are homeowners in my friend circle, and
So there's hope for me, you see.
yeah, no, not unnecessarily go shock. Me save you from one next kind of trouble. If you not, I mean, if it's the husband, it's the husband danger, but don't make it the husband for the house.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but it's I've seen that and I keep saying it. It's planning that if I do understand that here's my income, here's the type of house I want. How am I going to realistically get from here to here? I've seen friends, and I know Sasha don't like stock market, but I've seen friends who work the stock market to their advantage. That when an IPO comes out and list a new share at $1, I have a brethren who say if it comes out at $1, the only place it can go is up. It can't go down. So they buy buy the shares at $1 and they double and they triple and they go, okay, time to sell. Probably have the savviness of stock market to be able to do that. Good for you. Other people take on a second job. I'm good at this. How can I use this skill, this gift, this talent to make more money for me? I've seen, as I said, different ones use different mechanisms, but it starts with that self-awareness first. I am here. The type of house I want to get to is here. And how am I going to close that gap, and over what time period? Because closing that gap may not be a year, may not be two. I missed 5 years. 5 years of saving. When I say save, I saved everything. If my salary went up by $2,000, I call the accounts department and say, increase my salary reduction by $2,000. It's money I never had before. It comes back as Sasha says, how badly do I want it? How quickly do I want it? I plan to get mine at 13, never happened at 13. But a couple years after 30. But, stick to the plan. Many of my other friends bought houses much younger and, bad mind is that thing, never bad mind them actually.
Yeah, and you said it. It's a bit.
Made it happy for them, but me say, when am my time?
Your time.
But my circumstances were different, and if I could be a little honest for a moment, I had to ensure that I managed certain things like credit card debt.
Yeah.
Like I had some credit cards that were out of control. So when my friends were buying, their properties, I was like, oh, me not reach this yet. Me have some other things me need to sort out first, fix up the finances, move from just a state where my monthly salary is just going directly back into bills. Clean that up first. Then I look at, okay, where's the fiscal space? Where am I going to save? How am I going to save? I personally save in US dollars. So by the time I was ready to buy a property, my US dollars had moved from probably 100 to 1 to probably close to 130 to 1. So I got a nice little.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe not try, which has been the discussion here.
Yeah.
One thing might work for somebody else. Find what works for you. Whether, as I said, pick up another skill, work the stock market. Just be self-aware as to where you are, and again where you want to get to, and the measures and processes and plans you're going to put in place to close that gap.
And then, like you told me, man, like you want to say something?
In terms of closing that gap, I know that a lot of persons use the real estate profession to do that because it is something that you can do part-time.
Yes.
So the barrier to entry is relatively low. but there's no cap in terms of what you can earn. So you can then probably they take it to supplement their income. So might see it as a way to get out of where they are now. So you find a way to that self-assessment, know where you are, what is the gap, can I earn it from this? And you can probably pursue that avenue.
Okay, so I'm glad you guys touched on it a bit because based on the poll that we did on Instagram, another one of the major things that I wanted to zone in on as well was affordability. Now, you mentioned some other ways that we can earn money if we find out that we're a bit low and we're not where we want to be. You mentioned stock market, tapping into some skills, partnerships or marriages if that's the one. But I wanted to know if anybody has anything else you can share for young people who are not quite there yet, but we want to be there in terms of finances.
So what worked for me was investing. So even when I made my first deposit to NHT, a large some of that was my investments that I had over the time. Because I started with right as I started working, as well as colleague mentioned about the NHT contributions that's accessible to you. That also helps. So that's my tip. Invest as soon as possible.
I'm not asking them. You're also against the plan. That's right.
You can do a partner drawing now, but you're just not making any money on it. In fact, you're probably losing because you're paying banker's fee. So what if you put in $1,000, you might just be getting $900 because they're taking out the banking fee.
You know what I like about it, though, Sasha? The discipline that it starts. Because, some people, they probably go, if me have the money, me ever spend it.
Well, that's
So, and then I think the amount I have is not significant enough for me to go into, an investment house or put it down in another bank. So, I trust danger with the money. So, make danger hold it for me. So I see the benefits in it, and as a country boy, partner carry through a lot. I saw my mother, a domestic helper, build her 2-bedroom, bathroom, kitchen from partner draw on her domestic helper salary. So my not to really go against what you're saying, Sasha, but my frame of reference on the power of partner is a little bit enough school fee paid.
But
enough school fee and bill.
Short term, not long term.
Yes.
Because once you get it, what are you gonna do then? You're gonna spend it.
But I feel like this all boils down to finding what works for you.
Yeah.
You said that earlier. So if partner job work for the people, then
No. But a house costs way more than a school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to want something that has a good return on it.
Yeah.
Do what works for you. One final thing before we close out. I want you all to drop a golden nugget. I want one sentence from each of you. Something that's going to keep our young people motivated towards home ownership. Because, they have them little doubts. They're not sure if they want to get into it. Going back to what I said, affordability, availability, financing, getting rejected. These are some of the major concerns that they're facing when it comes to home ownership. So starting with you, of course, I want you to tell me one golden nugget. One sentence. Starting with you, I want one sentence, a golden nugget, something to say to our young people who are tuned in to keep them motivated when it comes to home ownership. One sentence, nice. Something like the quote with them drop earlier, something nice and peppy.
It probably won't be one sentence. The scene nowadays is what? Us can skate on the tour, right?
Okay,
Us can skate on the tour. But for me, right? Think about it this way. A car depreciates. And not going to try to sound county or financially, right? A car depreciates. Land never depreciates. So even though a house can skate on the tour, a house can crash, right? It can disappear in a second. You drive out to the car mart, bam, gone. A house is there, it appreciates. The value of the house is going to go up. If you want to resell, you can resell it for a fortune. You're gonna make money. You can buy and resell houses. So that's what I'm gonna say to the young people. I know you want your fancy car, you want to compete with your friends. I know this is more than a sentence. You want to compete with your friends who have the latest car. No, try to compete with your friends. Say, who has the biggest pool in the backyard. Let's try to work towards that. That's what I want for me and my friends, and that's what I want for everyone. That is what or where we should be aiming for. And that's my goal in
I feel like your sentence is that the car will depreciate and the house will appreciate. In essence, but thank you. Yeah, you know.
Well, I want to say what I said
You're pretty
earlier.
good with burger. This time.
Delay the gratifications. When I applied for the house, it was 16, and then the following year it was 17. So delay the gratifications. The house is worth it. We will appreciate it.
All right. All right. Me, you know, we have you for long.
So, may I struggle?
In that okay sentence.
No, I have too many sentences.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for a while. But if I were to say my advice, really, going back to your affordability, all of those issues, getting where you fit in. So you wanna just start where you are. Doing it a number of times. Your journey is your one.
Yes.
So just get into the market. Because at the end of the day, assets appreciate. You benefit from real estate from capital appreciation and cash flow.
Yes.
So just get in and I see where it takes you.
Thank you. I wish you could send it.
You know, Nick T from what I say. Honestly. Yeah. So let me see if I can go. Really wanted to say start where you can afford. But let me see if I can come up with something.
So let me give my feedback and we're going to stop. Please don't listen to me. One of the major takeaways I've got from this discussion is that research is very important. And as young people, I feel like, and I'm going to go back to what you said, we want things quickly. We want, like, we get up. If I promise you, if the house was that easy to go in our store and buy it, well, I wouldn't do that. Young people, I feel like we're in a day and age. We have technology so readily available to us. We have Google, and I'm like, so. I mean, that wasn't available back in the day. You guys had to work for what you want. Nowadays, we work, but not really much effort. So we want things without putting too much effort into it. But I feel like one of the major takeaways I've gotten from this discussion is that research and planning is very important. And it's very important that you understand that your story is going to be different from everybody else's own. Some people probably go and say, I want a home. I'm going to do exactly what Sashana do. And then we woke up in all sorts of problems because your story is gonna be different, and because there's just something that you did that just does not work for me. So that's one of my major takeaways from this discussion. You already know, sir?
You know, yes, so we do what I say. No, but I'm serious. But I don't have for but home ownership is possible.
Yes.
Is it easy? No. If it did easy, would have like 10. Me doing would have like 10. If it did easy. I'm serious. It would have like 10 long time.
Yes.
But it is possible. It's the research, it's the planning, it's the saving, it's the self-awareness to say, this is where I'm at. Can it get me something? Let me jump in and get that. Home ownership, we have a mantra at the NHT that we say, you know, home ownership is security. For some people, it's moving from a particular type of environment into having an environment that you feel secure and there are no boundaries on what that security can look like for you. It is investment. For some, it's a legacy that you're going to pass on to the children.
Yes.
I say all that to say, find out what home ownership is for you.
Yes.
Yeah, find out why you are really pursuing it. Is it because it's an indicator that, it just shows them I have ambition? Is it because I have a particular need based off probably my upbringing, my family circumstances? I want to change that particular narrative for my family and I want that change to start with me. Find out what is your why.
Yes.
For pursuing home ownership and let that fuel you. And nothing is wrong if that reason is also wealth creation, because I have another brethren who said man for rich. Yeah. So if it is that it is a wealth generating tool, Yes, that's also fine. But find out why. Find your why for home ownership and let that fuel you. So on the days when the sale agreement I take long to come through, remember why. When you reach out to Nick and say, Nick, you don't find nothing on my price range yet, and Nick say, me a look. Remember your why. When you've applied to NHT 2 or 3 times and you probably don't get through, apply again because there's a why. And let that why fuel, your home ownership journey. And I'm deliberate in saying journey because it doesn't, it starts a sprint. Yeah, it's not a sprint. It's not a sprint, it's a journey. And even after you get the keys, Sachel Savant can tell you, the journey continues because you have to maintain that property.
Yes.
You have to keep putting more in it. When the pipe busts, you can't call NHC and say, this summer house 5 years ago, the pipe bust, come fix it, please. You can't call Nick and say, hey, come fix it. No. You have to also be prepared for that component as well, So it's a journey. Find your why. And when you found your why, jump on the journey.
Thank you so much for those 5 paragraphs. I think that's a good way to end though. It's also funny you said that lately. We stole what you have, but I feel like we steal it intentionally because that was so profound. Find out what is your why. Young people, if you're looking into getting into home ownership, find out what is your why. Now, I want to tell you, thank you so much. If you're here to the end, thank you so much for tuning in. This was a beautiful discussion. I learned a lot. Yeah, man, and I dropped some nuggets, some things I've never even known. I was like, whoa. So this was a great learning experience for me, and I hope it was for you too. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you ever want to find out more information about home ownership, you can tune into the National Housing Trust social media page. You were saying earlier that every single thing is posted there. So ensure that you're following NHD on Instagram, on Facebook, and subscribe to the Humans YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of the evening.